From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we'll be going over the fourth stimulus package, debuted in part today. Not in bill, but in draft format. Proposal. I'll go over the latest details of what's in there. Then we cut to the incredible great news. As fifth stimulus heats up in just a few weeks, this is a raise up your benefits lifetime. And that's happening in September. Then we cut to the big money across the board that viewers continue to get, one viewer getting over $50,000. It's a big night with a lot of breaking news. I'm going to make it easy breezy for you in a day in which the details abound. And with that, let's get to the breaking news on this big evening across the board, starting right here, right now on LALATE. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Hope you're having a beautiful day across the board. The weather has been beautiful here in Southern California. Can't want any better weather than this. It's been paradise. Cold at night, literally sweater weather, almost in the low 50s sometimes. And then daytimes along the coast around the 70s. Gorgeous, breezy, easy breezy. Tell me where you're tuning in from and how's the weather. Breaking news across the board on this big evening's LA broadcast. We'll be going over that fourth stimulus package and the incredible sums of checks that are coming to the American people. We'll be going over the breaking details happening today, one of the most eventful days we've seen in several months. Then we'll be cutting to the fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up a lifetime. And this is what the president had promised for you. It's happening in September. The legislative effort heats up. I'll go over all the incredible details across the board. And then we cut to the incredible details as one viewer got $32,000 from this channel. His name was Mark, and I said, go back and get some more. And within days, he got more. $50,000 he got from this channel, and that was from the third stimulus. And when fourth stimulus comes out, you're going to be able to get big sums of money like this as well. And this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week. Financial news channel in America, live in the morning, taped in the afternoons. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, then Sirloin at 8 o'clock, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Next stop, 1 million. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's get to that fourth stimulus update of 2021 starting right now. So, we started the day with the dramatic details about the voting process. I'll be getting to that later. But by midday, the Senate Democrats released some documents. One, they're not a bill. It's not a bill. Number two, what is it? It's really just a draft. In fact, I can actually hold it up on camera for you. How small is it? It's this. I mean, it doesn't take 4 months to write, what is this? One piece of paper with about 20 lines on it. And so, yeah, this is not a bill. This is what they released. One piece of paper. I mean, if I had another camera on set, you'd see I have about 55 pieces of paper on my set. So I've written more in about a day than they've written, in 4 weeks. Now, this was also released. This was not written by them. I'm going out of focus. There we go. This was also released by them, but this was not written by them. It was summarized from other documents. So there's a lot of documents floating around. What are these documents? Proposals, not bill. Okay, so what is going on? So what they're doing is they're going to dedicate $3.5 trillion of checks to the American people for different subject matters. Step one will be a recon, fourth stimulus recon, which we've been talking about, in which they dedicate fortunes to different subsections of the U.S. government. For example, like the Department of Veterans Administration, or, for example, like to the Department on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, $726 billion. They will their path, their structural path, is really what we talked about over the previous months, the procedural recon. agreeing that there's $726 billion to the health, education, labor, and pension committees. And that's it. What do you mean that's it? That's it. Well, what's the substance of it? Well, it gives guidance as to what they're to do with the money, but it's called non-binding. Huh? Let me explain the details. What they've detailed today is that there's going to be a recon, 3.5 trillion. Okay, that's number one. We got that already. And they already agreed upon that number. That's fine. So then what's the next thing? Today is a series of documents where they say, of the 3.5 trillion, I'm giving 4% to you and 3% to this other department and then 4% to that other department, like 332 billion to banking, housing, urban affairs, $135 billion to nutrition, money to commerce, like 83 billion, 332, which I said for housing, things like that. And that's it. So then what? Well, it's called non-binding, meaning that they call this for a vote and then they pass it. Well, then what does that give us? So then they have to come back and do step two. This is what I had talked about months ago, procedural recon, substantive recon. We had not seen them talk about it for a while. Remember, I always said there was a procedural recon, then they come back and do the substantive recon. This is the procedural recon. The procedural recon says that when we vote for 33.5 trillion, and then we're going to give 332 billion to one division, and that division will take the money and then disperse it to programs. When? Not this week. So what are they voting on this week? Well, they're just voting on this. So then what they're going to do is come back in September and have the actual vote on what the money is being spent on in those subcommittees, in those committees, like Committee on Banking and Housing and Urban Affairs and Nutrition, things like that. So hopefully that's clear to you. Number one, no bill. Number two, proposal. In one case, there's lots of pieces of paper. For example, if you think this is all they wrote, because some people saw this and thought this is all they wrote. That's not all that they wrote. In fact, if you read this document, which was released by the Senate Democrats, it says budget top lines, meaning this is just sort of a summary of the summary of the summary. Okay, and then this was a larger summary, not written by them, but written by one of the news outlets, syndicated news outlets, summarizing a little bit more about the subcommittees and the numbers. So that is where we are. Now, what you need to know is that nowhere in there is a discussion of incredible details. That's number one. Number two, that there is lots and lots of indication of massive checks to the American people for different subject matters, which we always talked about on this channel. For example, the food and the nutrition and the housing and the medicine. Remember what I always talk about getting into the later in this video, which are the free school meals for all and the checks and the seniors checks and the workers checks. They're in there. So everything I had been indicating to you, that's in there. There is no multiple stimulus checks in there. There is no stimulus check. There is no multiple stimulus check where it's a reoccurring monthly stimulus check in there. These are more application-based checks that we talk about a lot on this channel that are for different walks of life that include the viewers of this channel. But again, it's non-binding. It's just a proposal how to spend the money. The determination of where to spend the money is in the next few weeks. So all they're agreeing upon now is just how much for what committee. Again, all they're agreeing upon now is how much for one committee. So let's deal with fake narratives right off the bat, because I know it's just sort of easy to fall into fake narratives. Number one, the bill is debuted today. No, it's not a bill. Well, the details of what they're going to give money to it was released today. No. In fact, it's just the summary of the amount of money that's going to be paid to different subcommittees, who then are given guidance as to what they should spend the money on, but that ultimately those subcommittees decide themselves, write it up into the bill format, and that bill is then voted upon by everyone in September. So that is where we are across the board. More about that in a little bit. Really exciting details. Then let's cut to the big money. Get a pen and paper ready, because I want to get you some big money. Whoa, wow. When I was talking about rent, utilities, food, internet, and more over the last few weeks, I never saw that I could get these sums of money. I'm going to get you some rent, food, internet, and more. But first, let's go over all the details. Starting with rent. I had said I can get you $5,000 of rent, 4 to 6 months of rent. I was wrong. Viewers from this channel are now getting $27,000 for rent, like Elizabeth. Mark got $25,000 for rent, $24,000, $22,000, and Nisi $20,000 from third stimulus rent. And guess what? Fourth stimulus has money proposed in there for housing as well. The success stories continue as Pamela got $12,000 for rent. Carla got multiple sums of money. Tiffany got $13,000 of rent and other sums of money. Randy got $6,000 for rent and other sums of money. Jennifer, congratulations, Jennifer, $5,000 for rent and other sums of money. And Cecilia got money for heat and utilities. Wow. Now, let's turn to the utilities. Incredible. $7,000 obtained by Nancy for utilities. We thought it was going to be $300 for utilities. It's just incredible. Mark, instead of $300, got $6,500 for utilities. And Angela, $5,000. When we talked about SNAP, I said, well, maybe $5,000 to $6,000 of SNAP you can get. And then this hit. Are you ready? Bam. $18,000 for SNAP obtained by Louie. Incredible. John, $10,000 to $12,000, and Nancy, $5,000. And finally, when people got multiple sums of money, are you ready for this? Ready? Drum roll. Bam. Wow. Nancy got $32,000 for 3 items from this channel, rent, utilities, and SNAP. Nisi, $23,000 for 3 items, and Mark, $32,000 from 2 items, which then surprised us with the next big change of Mark's future. Mark heard me recording on camera over the last week. Mark, you got 2 items, $32,000. Why did you not get SNAP? Go get some SNAP. And over those 7 days of recordings, Mark listened, and then he decided, I'm going to go get some SNAP. And what did he do? Did he get $5,000 of SNAP? Did he get $8,000 of SNAP? Did he get to $40,000? No. He got a lot more. Are you ready? Here we go. Mark got $19,000 for SNAP, bringing his grand total to $50,000 for SNAP, for $50,000 across the board, $25,000 for rent, $6,500 for utilities, and $19,000 for SNAP. Absolutely incredible. And this is Ally. This is what we do. In April of last year, people's EIDL loans and EIDL grants were not being approved. I stepped forward and got their EIDL loans approved. I was doing sometimes 10 applications approved a day at $150,000 a pop. Nearly $25 million of EIDL loans I got approved at the time, saving their businesses, homes, and their businesses, their homes, and their employees' homes. Then in fall of 2020, second stimulus checks were not coming. And that second stimulus check was not coming. So I stepped forward and I got viewers $250,000 for rent and utilities. Viewers like Mark got, Tyrone, his family 4 out of Boston, got $15,000 for rent, paid all his rent from the spring to the fall to the spring. The only difference is you're doing it now, but bigger and bolder. So get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to go over all these big sums of money for you right now. We're going to get some rent. We're going to get some utilities. We're going to get some internet, mortgage assistance, and more. Get that pen and paper ready. We're going to go over the details starting right now. If you're new to this channel, I want you to get this money. If you got one of the items, I want to get you multiple sums, and we're starting right now. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, your state housing authority. The keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. That's rent assistance because of COVID. Not, you're not going to say words they don't know, like stimulus. Or Mitch's fan club. No, they don't know those words. And if you've gotten rent as well, post in the live chat. If you got utilities as well, post in the live chat. Congratulations to Tim and Linda who got this wonderful pot of money. The next pot of the money is SNAP. And boy, you just saw in the video, Louie got $18,000 to SNAP. Mark got $19,000. John, $10,000 to $12,000. Where's SNAP? It is money for food. How much does it pay? A fortune. Where do you get it? Department of Agriculture. Reach out to them. Eligibility is easier than a stimulus check. How much does it pay? A family of 4 out of Boston, out of Hawaii, gets upwards of $15,000, $16,000 a year now. Wow. Why so much money? Because of 2 wonderful executive orders. One from Biden, one from Trump, that raise your benefits up 15% between now and December. So go get it. We're killing it. You're killing. We're only 14 minutes of this video, and we're going to get now some other sums of money. But so far, we got to $27,000 for rent, $9,000 for utilities, and $19,000 for SNAP. Let's get some money back from your state. This is the refund check coming back from your state due to overpayment of unemployment benefits and computer error. Where is it landing? Direct deposit. Can you track it? Yeah, reach out to your state and say, hi, state. Where's that check due to overpayment of unemployment benefits? And can you track it with a computer that actually works this time? And finally, the wonderful refund check coming back from IRS. This is the 2020 taxes you paid on unemployment benefits. Margaret got it, Cod got it, Michael got it. And boy, it's a lot of great news. IRS says it's a waivable check. Sorry, Mitch. That waivable check has a new wave every week. The average payout this wave is $1,265. Direct deposits start July 14th and paper checks July 16th. There'll be a new refund every week. Wow. Before we continue more with that, here's a personal message to you. If you're in the live chat and you've not posted your success stories for rent, utilities, food, or internet, do it right now, because that is what we do here. When you do it, it helps other people. I'm here to help you, and as viewers, you help each other when you post your success stories 3 different ways. Let's go over it. Number 1, when you post your success stories for rent, you inspire people to go get these sums of money, or utilities, or SNAP. When you post your success stories, people get inspired and they realize, wait a second, I have rent bills. I need my rent bills paid. Let me go get that money. Or when it's utilities, then you say, wait a second, I have utilities. Let me go get the money as well. Or it's SNAP. People may never have heard of SNAP, and then they see you getting that money. So post your success stories in the live chat. Number 2, viewers like Art Sullivan, who got 3 items, and Nisi, who got 3 items, inspired viewers like Nancy, who saw them get 3 items and then went and got 3 themselves. Nancy got $32,000. But then Mark, he got 2 items at $32,000, and I said on camera, Mark, you got 2. Go get that SNAP. Go get that SNAP, and he did, bringing his grand total to $50,000. And there you go. Finally, it updates us about the numbers, so post your success stories in the live chat and help other people. Let's cut back to those unemployment benefits. Where is it landing? Direct deposit, and when? Let's go over all the details. First, how much? Let's say you had $9,000 of unemployment benefits. You paid $5,000 of total taxes, of which $4,000 was your taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, you're getting back $4,000. Where? Direct deposit, otherwise in the mail. Can you track it? Yes. Go to irs.gov and do a transcript search. And 70% of the time it'll work. It'll reveal the tax return you filed, the taxes you paid, and then it'll reveal 70% of the time stuff you never knew, stuff that you didn't want to know. Like, for example, it'll reveal the refund check you're getting back from IRS. Well, no, it's going to reveal that. Plus, when Mitch was on Star Search, when he sang, was that song that was a lullaby to Chuck, Slave to You by Britney. Can we top that? We can, as we go into the second part of your fourth stimulus check updated 2021, starting right now. Deal done. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people in the fourth stimulus recon. This is incredible, great news. The recon will have checks of all different walks of life. And if you've seen early in this video how I went over all those massive payouts across the board, let's go over more about them right now. These payouts are astronomical across the board. There's going to be $726 billion to the Committee on Health and Education and Labor and Pension that will provide universal preschool for 3 to 4-year-olds and 2 years of free tuition to college, community college, childcare, working family increases on the Pell Grants, the federal subsidy for low-income paid housing. Then there's going to be $332 billion to housing, to help people with housing in cities, urbans, and rural areas. There's going to be $198 billion for clean in the committees of energy and natural resources. $135 billion for nutrition and other industries to help those that are in need of food benefits. There's going to be $107 billion to the Department of Judiciary, which may not pass the Senate parliamentarian. And if it doesn't, then that money is going to go somewhere else. I wonder where it's going to go. And then $83 billion to commerce. $67 billion for clean energy, $37 billion for helping cybersecurity, money for Indians, money for veterans facility upgrades at $18 billion. And then the Senate Finance Committee will be charged with identifying ways to expand Medicare for more money for dental, vision, hearing benefits, lowering eligibility age, child care tax credit, providing relief to taxpayers who need to deduct more than $10,000, and assistance on federal debt, federal taxes. Incredible details. How did we get to this spot? By taking the roads and bridges out of the recon. Originally, the roads and bridges were in the recon, and it was not passable. And once they took those roads and bridges out, it shrunk the recon, making it passable. The confirmation comes from conservative publication, which confirms my recent reporting. In that conservative publication, it said that once you took the money out of the recon for the roads and bridges and put it in the bipartisan, it became passable. And now they're both passable. The higher the price tag was on the recon before, the harder it was to pass. But by allowing the Democrats to take out some of the spending from the roads and bridge, from the recon, and put it into the bipartisan roads and bridges, the overall price tag of the recon got smaller. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon passable. Can we top that? We can. As the Democrats, once they shrunk the recon, were able to build it back out. And how did they build it back out? By bringing it to a big, bold number of $3.5 trillion to accommodate their provisions that they wanted. Like Representative Richie Torres wanted money in there for housing. He got it, $3.5 trillion. We need a larger recon. You got it, Richie, $3.5 trillion. Elon Omar wanted a bigger recon. We have to have a recon that goes as far as we want it. You got it, Elon, $3.5 trillion. And the Progressive Caucus was meeting with the White House daily to ensure that the recon went bigger and bold enough. They got it, $3.5 trillion. How did they do this? By protecting the recon. The Democrats were charged with the duties of protecting the recon because everything in there is progressive checks for you, progressive policies. Brian Schatz, Democrat of Hawaii, said that the White House considers the progressive priorities in the recon their priorities, and so did Jalapa agree. So what is a recon? What is a bipartisan? And what happened with the White House with progressives in the last week? Well, last week we started with no eviction moratorium, and with no student loan debt repayment freeze in place. And we ended the week with both in place because of the push from those progressives. For example, Representative Bush, Missouri, 1st District, St. Louis, pushed and said, no, this is not sufficient. You got to extend the eviction moratorium. She pushed in a true spirit of the purple power and got it restored by the end of the week. Now, what is a recon? What is a bipartisan? Let's go over the words and details starting right now. And even today, when there's a lot of news with the proposals of the $3.5 trillion coming out, broadcast media was butchering the subject again. Let's go over all the details. First, let's go over the words. Recon and also bipartisan. Let's go over the two words so you know them better than they do, because, lately they haven't been doing such a good job on it. There's two paths that I detail on this channel, recon and bipartisan. First, recon. It refers to your money, also called reconciliation, also called the budget bill. Price tag $3.5 trillion. People quote an article about it, Bernie, Nancy, AOC. Bipartisan, not your money, that's roads and bridges. People quote an article about it are Kristen Sinema, Ron Portman, Mitt Romney, also called infrastructure. Okay, that's easy breezy. So who votes on the recon and who writes the recon? Here's what you need to know, is that the recon is voted on by Democrats to be passed by Democrats. It's going to get zero Republican support, but that's fine because they have all the Democrats in favor of it. Well, when those Democrats called for a vote, who writes it? At the moment, all they are writing so far in the recon is the procedural recon, not the substantive recon. So the recon procedural is coming out of the subcommittees, and we now have it. And that recon procedural will basically just say the following at the moment. It will say $3.5 trillion, and then $300 billion for this committee, $500 billion for that committee, and $400 billion for this committee, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all we'll have for now. And when that goes for a vote, it gets passed. Then in September, they come back and do the substantive recon, where they actually put items to the price. So if a subcommittee has $300 billion, then the subcommittee puts those items to the price. They have guidance as to what they want to put in there now, but it's called non-binding, very non-binding. So they don't have to do something, or if they don't think it works, or they don't want to put it in there, they don't have to do. All they're doing is agreeing upon the price tag of money to go to those subcommittees. Now, they've not put in the true traditional stimulus check, where a check comes out in the mail directly to everyone of all walks of life automatically. They still could. You got to push Purple Power because they promised they would. We had that letter from those Democrats in that House to the president, 100 House Democrats who said, we're going to be putting a monthly forced stimulus checks in the forced stimulus package. They didn't do it. So we got to push Purple Power because they didn't keep their promise. And then we had those 7 members of the House Ways and Means Subcommittee who said they were going to put monthly forced stimulus checks in the forced stimulus package. They didn't put a stimulus in its normal version in there, but they did put lots of other stimulus checks for all of us, generally across the board. And how did we get to this spot? By the president doing something wonderful overseas about 7 weeks ago. He signed the global minimum corporate tax rate ceremonial and then in person just a few days later, just a few days recently. It makes the forced stimulus recon easier to pass because, one, it's easier to write it because that thing is not in there. Easier to call the vote on the recon because it's not in there. Easier to vote on the recon because this confusing thing is not in there. And easier to pass the recon because this confusing thing is not in there. And can we top that? We can. In the final part of this video, we'll be going over the voting process for this recon. How the recon is not the substantive recon. It is still the procedural recon. We'll go over a little bit more about all these twists and turns and where things can get changed and where things can't get changed. And then we'll go over the exciting details as the recon goes for a vote within hours. Then we cut to the exciting details of something more delicious, the volunteers. If you need help with rent, utilities, food, or internet, here's a little bit about the volunteers. How do you find them? Open the description of this video. Go down the description. You'll find the volunteers separated from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Reach out to them, and they'll help you find that big money for food and internet. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as we continue with the big updates about your fourth stimulus package and also the fifth stimulus package. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on a big Evenings LALATE across the board. I'm really excited for you and everything that's unfolding. And boy, it's a big day with so many breaking details about the voting process, the proposal, and more. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calzino VIP. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, which details the big amendment about that crypto provision. I'll have more about that tomorrow as well, because that is a very big story. The crypto amendment that is still floating around in the roads and bridges. That's coming up right after this video. But boy, the president had promised when he was running for the highest office in the land to raise your benefits up if you're on SSI and SSDI. He did not deliver it. And then during the transition papers, he said he was going to do it again. He did not deliver it. So now the Democrats vowed to take care of it in just a few days. When? In what's called fifth stimulus. This is this fall. They're going to be doing this SSI reform, which starts by reforming the whole system in legislative format. Starting in September, and then going to a final vote, they presume, by about November, with the benefits likely hitting your account by November, and then the lift up happening thereafter. The benchmark would be applied in December for next year's benefits as well. Let's go over all the details. First, they'll raise your benefits up. Then they'll remove your asset limits. Then they'll remove the income exclusion, add the inflationary benchmark, remove the income exclusion, and remove the marriage penalty. Let's go over all the details of this starting right now. First, who? You. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, or SSA. First thing they'll do is raise your benefits up a lifetime. Next, they'll apply a benchmark. That new benchmark is inflation. When? In December. What's going to happen with inflation? Well, it's going to be transitory, says Jay Powell, head of the Federal Reserve. What is transitory? It means it's going to reach a big spike. When is that spike going to happen? In December. Wow, perfect timing. Then they're going to remove the asset cap, meaning that if you have more than $3,000 in hand, you can now have more than $3,000 on hand and stay on benefits. How will this all work? First, they're going to raise your benefits up. Then they'll apply the benchmark. And if the benchmark, let's say, is 5% inflation, your benefits will raise up another 5%. Then they'll also remove the income cap, dating back to a 1960 law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And finally, the marriage penalty is going to go away. Love is going to win, and you will be able to marry your longtime love interests. Viewers like Rob and Sandy will be able to get married and no longer fear the marriage penalty. And there you go. That's fifth stimulus. Now, let's turn to the surprising details of what would be happening next. Money. If you're in the live chat and you have noticed that there's people who are Purple Hawks and you are not a Purple Hawk, what are you doing? Become a Purple Hawk today. When second stimulus happened, there was going to be a $600 stimulus check. But I told viewers, don't be focused on the $600 stimulus check because it's going to come and you're going to use it and then you're going to look for other money. So I've had people focus on the big sums of money under second stimulus. That's why Tyrone got $15,000 for his family of four out of Boston. When third stimulus passes a $14 stimulus check, I said, sure, $14, but don't be focused on that because you're going to get it and then you're going to spend it and then you're going to wonder where the next check is. I said, there's fortunes of money in that third stimulus package. And now the Purple Hawks have realized that. In January this year, I launched the Purple Hawks to describe people who pounce, hawk, when money becomes available. Because all these stimulus packages have massive sums of money. And you saw in this recording how there's massive sums of money in the fourth stimulus package that are application-based for you to apply for. And I'm going to focus on getting you every single penny of that. Daily I deliver to you from the community page at YouTube a breakdown of all the big money from third stimulus, fourth, and fifth for you to get. So consider becoming a member so you get access to these big sums of money. And so you realize, wow, $24,000, $7,000, $18,000 and more. Consider becoming a Purple Hawk so that you can pounce and get these big sums of money across the board. And with that, we go into the final 15 minutes of this video, starting right now. Deal done. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people under the fourth stimulus recon. The Democratic coalition of the Senate agreed 2 weeks ago to pass the recon with a $3.5 trillion price tag. Now, what they are going to do is vote on the provision, the separation of the money into different divisions. They're not going to vote on what the money is being specifically spent on, just how much is allocated to different parts of the federal government. And then they come back in September and they write again another bill that says, okay, now of the money that's in each of the departments, what is that department going to spend the money on? So this is sort of like a calculation bill at the moment. We got $10. We're giving $1 to this department, $1 to that department. Done, signed. It's not $1 to this item or $1 to that item. It's money to departments. Then in September, those departments come back and they write the provisions of the bill as to their amount of money. And that's incredible, great news. I've been telling you over the last few days the details of the incredible sums of checks that are in the fourth stimulus recon. And in fact, every single one that I mentioned to you got in there. So there we go. Confirmed that report as well. Free school meals for all checks, tax break checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, immigration reform checks, money for elections, farming checks. There's a lot of farming checks in there. Free internet checks, then lots of money for workers, and then lots of money for seniors. There is added coverage for dental, vision, and hearing care, and checks for lowering eligibility age so you can get on Medicare even quicker. Wow, incredible, great news. Let's go over to the bipartisan, the roads and bridges. The bipartisan roads and bridges will go for a final vote as early as Tuesday morning. It's currently undergoing the votorama, and that votorama is the final stage. It's a non-functioning, non-substantive votorama. Why? Because they had done amendments over the last 7 days. Earlier today, I detailed for you why the votorama is being done. I don't want to repeat it again because it's sort of duplicative. But basically, you're not going to see any more changes really that are huge to those roads and bridges between now and tomorrow morning. By tomorrow morning, the Senate will have passed the roads and bridges. Then immediately, the Senate starts voting on the recon. Schumer represents that the way they're going to do the voting on the recon is they're going to do a votorama immediately in the Senate, and that it's going to get passed in the Senate that way. That's Schumer's representation. If that's the case, then the Senate votorama will start as early as Tuesday and be done within 50 hours. So we could see the recon, procedural, not substantive, pass in the Senate within the next 50 hours. Then what comes after that? Well, then comes the House. Here's what you need to know, is that Nancy, the president, and Jalopal all have your back on this. Nancy's made very clear that you're not going to send her in the House, only the roads and bridges, that if you do, she's going to throw in the wastebasket. Now, here's what that functionally works as, and you're only going to hear on this channel. The House is currently in recess. So if you try to really send just roads and bridges to Nancy in the House, she'll never bring the House back into session, and the roads and bridges will end because the Senate and the House session will be over for the spring. We then go into the fall session. So this is really fascinating, developing details. So what is she doing? What's the president doing? Let's go over first the president. The president's made very clear he's not signing the roads and bridges unless the recon is also on his table. As the roads and bridges, bipartisan, he says, the bipartisan, if it only comes to me and that's the only thing that comes to me, I'm not signing it. It has to come in tandem with the recon. There you go. Then he says, the bipartisan, I'm not just signing the bipartisan, forgetting about the recon. I propose another piece of legislation, the recon, and they're both important. That's the president. Then Nancy. Nancy's statement is that you have to pass the recon. Otherwise, she's never calling a vote on the bipartisan. She's throwing the garbage can. Nancy sort of knows how language works, and so she was very emphatic with her choice of words. As I said, there simply won't be a bipartisan unless we have a recon bill as well, plain and simple. In fact, I use the word ain't. There ain't going to be a bipartisan bill unless we also have a recon passed by the United States Senate. There you go. Also, Jalopal confirms the House members are not going to support the roads and bridges unless there's a recon. We did a poll of our members, and the overwhelming majority of the caucus said we're not going to vote on the bipartisan unless we have the recon passed as well. All right, wonderful news across the board. One of the things that I'm sort of thinking in the back of my head, I'm sure you're thinking right now, and I don't have the answer, is when Nancy always said this about the recon, which was referring to both the recon procedural and the recon substantive, I always thought she was referring to both recon procedural and recon substantive. So I don't know. Let's see. No one asked her specifically that question because they're not good news reporters. They just sort of hear a question. They're like, yeah, I sort of understand what she said. So very interesting. All right, let's go back now to the recon. Let's go over procedurally when your recon goes for voting, how it gets finished, and all the things you need to know across the board. Step one. The recon proposal will go to a vote for a votorama as early as Tuesday for 50 hours. If Schumer's representations are correct, then we could have the recon procedural passed in the Senate within 50 hours. At that point, Nancy would call the House back into session and immediately, and then they would take up the recon vote and the bipartisan vote. If they make any changes, it goes back then to the Senate for either pieces of legislation, and then off to the president. All right, next, let's go over the substantive element. The substantive element is sort of peculiar at the moment because, yes, it's called a recon procedural a budget bill. So it's just basically saying money for this and money for that, generally speaking, but not into specifics. So when we look at it, there's lots and lots of checks for the American people and us. $3.5 trillion of checks, application-based checks. But as to an MSC, there is no MSC in there. Should there be an MSC in there? Of course there should be. They promise us. So we have time to push Purple Power. You can push now during the procedural point in which they're allocating funds of money. And remember, there's $105 billion allocated to the judiciary that may not withstand the parliamentarian. If she says no, then they have an extra sum of money to dedicate to stuff. Number one. Number two, they can also modify it when it goes to the substantive step. But for now, really a lot of interesting twists and turns. I'll have more about this tomorrow morning on Mornings LALATE as more of the details are still floating out. But let's recap where we are, because I know that's a lot in one recording. The recon procedural will go for a vote starting on Tuesday. The recon procedural has a price tag of $3.5 trillion and says that monies are being dedicated to different subcommittees of certain amounts of money. It's called non-binding because it doesn't have to say what the money is specifically used for, but gives guidance as to what it would like the money to be used for, and also, but only limits it to the committee and a price. Such as committee number 1, you got $10. Committee number 2, you got $30. And of committee number 1, we recommend that you use it for this, but it's non-binding. Then that recon vote, if Chuck is right, they can get this done within 50 hours. If that's the case, then we go over the House and we see what the House can do. The House can change what they get. So they can change the number up. They can change the department. They can say, hey, I want to give more money to another department. You don't even have this department listed. I want to have that department listed. And they can, and there's a lot of articles out today. They're talking about some Democrats want to raise the number higher. They don't think $3.5 trillion is enough. Interesting. So the House can change the number, can also change the allocation of the funds. And remember, we're not yet dealing with the specifics of the funds, just which committees get it. And then if they make changes, it goes back to the Senate. Then in September, they come back with an agreed upon determination that we have a total price tag, $100, and of that, $1 to this committee, $2 is that committee. Then those committees then go write the language of what is going into the substantive recon. And at that point, that gets combined into a big bill, and that gets called for vote. Now, as to Nancy with this first before that, we don't know if that's also applying to the substantive recon. We presume it would have to because, I don't know. We'll see. Certain things have not been flowing exactly like they've been representing. And a lot of things are confusing because I think that Schumer thinks he can get certain things done in a certain speed, and then sometimes they go a little bit slower. But I told you, the next 48 hours is going to be very dramatic across the board. Purple Power push. And let's end with Representative Bush. Representative Bush last week saw the eviction moratorium ended. And as a Democrat, progressive, since St. Louis, that was insufficient. She pushed and she said, no, you can't end the eviction moratorium. You need to continue it. She pushed. She had nightly vigils on Capitol Hill, and she got it in there. The same thing happened with Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. They pushed to get the student loan debt forgiveness to the plate, but also the student loan debt repayment frozen, and they got that as well. You need to keep on pushing, Purple Power, because things happen when you push. It's not law yet. It's not even substantive bill yet. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member so you get access to all this big money as well. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful evening. Stay with this video. It'll take you into Overnight's Crypto, which will explain the details of that crypto regulation in the roads and bridges. And I'll have more about that shocking crypto regulation tomorrow. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.